And good evening. We are back, and it's good to be back. It's been a minute since we have been here, and I'm glad to say that Imar is doing much better. As a matter of fact, he's only here because Dr. Frazier said it's okay for him to do it this time. He's been pretty sick. It's been kind of where do we go from here type of thing, and changing of lifestyle and all of that. But it's one of those things that, based on our topic today, we couldn't do. We couldn't do what our topic is because uh, that would have been a life and death situation in changing things. But by the way, I am Sharon or Zare, and with me here is my wonderful husband that I'm so glad is still here and still with me, Imar or
Yes,
Craig.
hello. You can tell just by looking at me, a different demeanor, different look, and lost about 35 pounds.
Yeah,
Come to
we're up
think
to
about it.
40 now. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, I'm keeping track.
Can't talk much as I used to, but definitely has been a life changing situation, especially since I almost lost my life. Come to think of it, so it's one of those things where you're kind of moved to take a look at life differently.
Yes, and it's. I'm going to say a little bit more about it as we get into our topic for today,
Yes.
and mention how important this is, and how important it is on both people in the relationship to be able to do this. So what's going to happen is, we are not only are we here in a different format, but we are going to do things in a different manner. So we have made some changes to the way we do things, and one of the things that we are going to do is introduce more pertinent topics that are um, in the forefront right now. And we're going to talk about those, and we're going to use videos a lot to show those. But we're going to come at um, dealing with um, healthy. I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to put all this together. Dealing with healthy, um, balanced relationships and the growth of those by eliminating some of the things that are negative in those relationships. We have a lot of relationships sometimes that we think are healthy and everything, but they're not quite. But we need to eliminate some of the things, and
So
so we're going to be solution
yeah,
based.
I think basically what you're saying is we're going to, from now on, take videos that we know are out there about everyday or problems that people are having in relationships. Some of them will be solutions that people have given. And then we're going to talk about them in connection to balanced relationship, how you can use balanced relationship techniques and ideas that we've talked about to help bring balance in the relationship. Maybe some of the stuff we'll agree upon, maybe some of the stuff we don't. But we're going to see.
It's all about learning
Yeah,
and
it's all
growing.
about trying to also stay relevant to what's actually happening, what's going out there when it comes to relationships. Hey,
Exactly. And
Sharon.
but before we go where you're getting ready to
Hmm.
go, I want to give our belief statement.
Yes.
We still have to have our belief statement. We still have to share
Hmm.
that with everyone. And our belief statement says this: we are going to relate. You know what? We
What's that?
need a T-shirt or a cup or something that says that on there. We are going to relate.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what your mother says, your father, your children, or even what Jesus says. We are going to relate. At Taking the Journey Together, we believe in relating in a balanced manner. Balanced relationships are the ones that are entered into as friends first and lovers second, but has both aspects in each partner. And that's what we want to continue with and maintain and grow, is that balanced part of the relationship.
Okay. We got a guest. I'm trying to
We have one
get
of our
you over
guests.
to our
Yes,
guest
yes,
to see if you want to introduce her. You want to just bring her in.
yeah. Well, we can just bring her in and introduce her at the same time. For those of you who have been with us before we were um, on hiatus because of medical reasons. We had Melani. Did I say that?
Empress. It's Empress.
Empress. Okay, just Empress, and she is with us again. She looks like she is in the passenger seat today.
I was driving, but I switched because I was late for this.
And where is the emperor?
Oh, hey, how y'all doing?
How are you?
All right.
She looks like the Empress is driving Mr. Emperor in the back. And oh
Oh,
no, she is.
not quite.
Whoever your friend is.
Mhm.
Hello and welcome anyway. Glad to see that you're back, and glad
Still
to
with
see
us?
that you're still with us. As
Of
we
course.
are still with us and
Yes.
still in the
I'm
land.
grateful for that too.
Yes. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to.
Yes. So today we are talking about avoidance.
Yeah.
And we're going to start off with a video that um, speaks to avoidance and what avoidance can do in a relationship, and that's the basis in which we are going to place this discussion today, based on what it does to a relationship, and as far as communication and other concerns that are
Yes.
around.
And of course, we'll be talking about, like we usually do, the several underlying reasons why people in relationships decide to take the decision to avoid
Yeah,
in a relationship. There
take
are
the
several
decision to
different
take the
reasons why
avoidance right
people
route.
take that route. So let's go
Yes.
right straight to the video and let's see what happens. Hold on, let me get this up and I'll go over and start it. Oops.
Ah, ah, come here, baby. Let me talk to you. Just think about it. Whenever you're reluctant to actually engage in discussions about feelings, you're creating emotional distance. Or whenever you withdraw from conflict, if your go to in a crisis or in a vulnerable moment is to retreat, what do you think is happening? You're destabilizing the foundation of your relationship. And so, in that sense, how can they trust you? And if they don't trust you, how can they feel secure emotionally? If they don't feel secure emotionally, if they feel like they're the ones who are doing most of the work when it's a fight or a conflict, it's just simply them, that makes them feel lonely. And if you're going to retreat and run away, that's going to make them feel abandoned. And in this sense, you can't say that they're just imagining this because it's real. It's actually happening in the now. There's proof that you run whenever there needs to be a vulnerable moment or anything related to feelings. So, for that person who's actually seeking that connection, your avoidance is making them feel lonely. And that feels very one sided. It makes for a very lonely, one sided relationship. So then this creates this emotional gap. You have one person who is seeking reassurance because you may be the person who's invalidating them, and they're constantly pursuing you, which is causing you to run away. Do you see how this is creating conflict and chaos? Then we have this pursue withdrawal cycle that's full of resentment and tension and distress. The one thing you don't want to do is signal that you don't value that relationship, but your avoidant tendencies typically do. And it's that perception that intensifies those feelings of abandonment. Think about a person having to navigate alone, solve alone, process alone, feel alone, regulate alone. Think about that. That's kind of what you're making them do. Your avoidant behaviors and tendencies protect you, but they're not protecting your relationship. Wish you all the best. Happy, healthy relationships. Bye, babies. Your avoidant behavior.
Okay, we are back. We're back.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that.
She's all right. She can
Okay.
go ahead.
Uh, say that one more time and just a little bit louder. I couldn't hear exactly what you said.
I said I can definitely relate to that
In what way?
in being the receiver of the avoidance, wanting consistently trying to solve an issue between myself and another person and that person avoiding the conversation, or maybe running when things get a little elevated or passionate, um, not wanting to continue the communication because of the intensity level, or the work that has to be done, maybe avoiding the work that needs to be done, maybe avoiding feeling attacked by whatever the issue is, or the confrontation. So confronting the issue makes the other person run from what it takes to solve the issue. So basically, avoiding any type of anything. I've been the receiving end of that. Feeling alone in solving the issue, feeling alone or one sided in wanting the relationship to work and putting in the work. I've been that person.
Yeah, I am coming to understand what that is just a little bit. I am generally on the other, excuse me, on the other side of that. I um I don't I know that that is not one of the things that you should do, especially in a relationship. But one of the things that we're going to talk about, are we ready to go in and start talking about some of the reasons?
Um,
Because
we can. I like to explore on the male side.
yeah,
I apologize for not being as talkative as I usually am, and being kind of like the vitality that pushes many of the issues, being the next in what I call advocate.
My my phone is
Um,
on 10%. I really want to continue the conversation. I'm going to continue the conversation until it dies, but I'm going to immediately get back on as soon as I get to the house.
okay.
okay,
So I'm not going to be able to be so much in the lead in the conversation, but I like to explore how she talked about how it leads to breaking down one of the strongest kind of needs in a relationship. It's a pillar that, quite frankly, when that pillar is rocked or shaked, it can really have nothing but mistrust in that relationship. And I said the last word, trust. And
yes,
that was one of the things that we probably don't look at a lot in the relationships, is the fact that trust is a very main pillar that's needed in a relationship. Most of us understand trust a lot when it comes to our close friends. My day, we call it our base boom coon. That's my day. Or my close boy, or my sister friend, or my beastie. We connected to them closely because of trust. Or in a relationship, if you are operating, as you said, with avoidance, then trust becomes a pillar that easily is cracked, many times broken to multiple pieces.
yes. And we've got our other guest. You want to
I'm going to bring them in.
bring him in now?
Yes. Go ahead.
Dr. Frazier, welcome. Good to see
How
you.
you doing there?
We're hanging in there. Thanks to you,
Exactly.
we're doing
Hey,
okay.
I wanted to say,
I see the little young man right there. Seems like he done
Dude.
shed some years on himself.
Yes,
yeah, I lost almost 40 pounds.
You look amazing, man.
Wow. I appreciate that, my brother. I really do. I
Mm,
appreciate
mm,
all that you have did to reach out to us and help me through this fast. I think it's about 22, 23-day fast. Nothing but
yes.
water. My energy level, of course, as you know, needs to be built more. And as you told me on this show, I should just flow with things. But mainly what he says is, Craig, you just don't need to talk much.
yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
you got three, four other people because young man in the back seat there. You got four other people that can speak up for you and help carry that load.
And by the way, Dr. Fraser, I'm drinking what?
Ginger honey tea.
Yeah, just a little bit ginger honey tea for my stomach. I know he wants me to do nothing but water, but
Nothing but water.
I needed something in my stomach because it's just like growling and doing everything else nasty.
But you remember what we talked about that? That's just your stomach is detoxing and healing. That growling is this. It's a pain of your healing. It's a crisis of your healing. It has nothing to do with hunger, and you don't want it to stop. You want it to run a course. You got people who sit there and eat a whole meal, and their stomach still growl after eating. You know, so
All I can say is Dr. Frazier is tough love. And
oh yeah,
when I get through this, giving him all the credit, Dr. Frazier, you and I are going to get together and we're going to run a boot camp, brother. A boot camp. Because you are like a freaking soldier general when it comes to this. You are very serious. And I'm following as close as I can and to
you're
see.
doing great though. You're
And
doing great. I promise you.
Thank you.
I'm trying to make him toe the line. I don't know what I was
Hmm.
thinking when I agreed to the honey ginger tea. I think I was thinking that the ginger is healthy, and so but
Well,
I didn't realize how strong it is until
Yes.
I had a cup right now, and it's pretty strong.
yeah. Well, we're not trying to
Right.
avoid anything. So we're going to get back to the subject of avoidance. And there's no doubt about it. I know Doc and what he does and his belief system that he presents to people and has many testimonies of being healed. He knows that there's been many people who's given me the story who avoid his wisdom.
Yeah.
And
Oh
with that,
yes.
putting that wisdom, as what our lady did say through the tape that you missed, Doc, we might play it on the second half, was it, of course, breaks down any trust they have for you.
Mhm.
Am I right, Doctor?
Uh,
That's true.
yeah.
That is true. I've actually had. You remember? I don't know if I told you about the one of the clients. Um, I'm not calling any name, but a client that I had just recently. You know, he's avoiding me when he got an issue that is really terrible. I mean, chronic, leading to death. But in his mind, he think that avoiding me is going to allow him to continue his bad habit. He's not willing to give up some of the stuff that I was telling him he's going to have to give up in order to be healed. See, the doctor didn't tell him, "Hey, we're going to give you some medicine and get you right back to your bad habits." Well, he didn't say bad habits, but he'll say we're going to get you right back to eating hamburgers, hot dogs, and different stuff like that. But me, you can tell how I tell you, you got to cut everything off for a while, you know.
Yeah.
And so people try to avoid that type of concept. No, no, you can't take me off my drugs now. You can't take me off my addictive habits, my lifestyle. I need it. That's what we're addicted to. So yeah,
Yeah,
we try to avoid that type stuff because we don't want to change.
exactly. I want to talk to the our Empress and her husband behind. Empress, why do you think that people many times, sometimes in relationships, feel, and I'm going to say this word, sometimes feel comfortable in avoiding situations, specifically with you being personal? Why do you think who this person is, without mentioning it, seems to be comfortable, or maybe they're not comfortable in avoiding issues when it comes to dealing with whatever you says goes on? You are muted.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, you are muted. We can't hear you.
You want
There
to
you
know?
go.
You want to know why they? You want to know why they feel
Yeah, y-
comfortable
yeah,
avoiding specifically with me or in general?
just in general,
Why I think
why do you think and feel that way?
people feel comfortable avoiding in general. Um, Most times, one thing I realize is most times when you're in conflict with somebody you love, is really one of the only times that people avoid. If a situation isn't detrimental enough, is they, you know what I'm saying? It's not even a situation. So most times when someone is in a situation where they love someone and they know that the other person loves them back, avoiding is easier because they know that person will be there anyway. Like, you're gonna love me anyway. We're gonna keep trying anyway. I don't have to put in all this energy. I don't have to put in all this effort. I don't have to go through this and put myself in anxiety or put all this work into something. You're going to be here anyway. It's going to be quiet for a little while, and then we're going to go right back to what we were doing before it was a conflict, and it happens like that. And then the person that receives the avoidance is like, we're just repeating the cycle. It's a constant repetition. There's going to be another situation, maybe not exactly the same, but similar, and I'm going to address it, and then you're going to avoid again, and then we're going to end up keep doing that, and then someone's either going to pull out or is going to be at his demise. Or but the main reason I think that people feel comfortable avoiding is because there's no consequence on
Mm.
that they deem a consequence, not
I,
an instant consequence.
I've got a wise saying, and then I'm going to be quiet. That says, "People that take you for granted value you less." I'll say it again. People that take you for granted value you less. What do you guys think about that?
Like, I said
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
today. I said that today. I was having a conversation and I was like, you don't recognize what I do, so you don't value what I do. So it seems as if I do nothing.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Doctor Frazier, or how would that reflect with you in the relationships that you deal with, which are patients that many times have life or death situations that you've been called in, and many times doctors have just left them alone?
Well, usually when there's a really on the deathbed, they don't tend to avoid me. Then the avoidance comes
I
before
bet they
that
won't.
part. Yeah,
Yeah.
they tend to don't avoid me after the doctor done gave up on them and stuff like that. But I do have issues where you know, they don't value, like, for example, I don't walk around in white coats. You know, I don't ride fancy cars. I don't have big houses or anything like that. So to know the knowledge to help a person recover sickness, I don't look the part to most people. All right. So since I don't look the part and I still hang around other people, I'm not up there in the Four Seasons. I'm not hanging out with the governor and the mayor and stuff like that. Well, it doesn't seem like I got the information towards health, you know. So the average person who's coming, they tend to not respect my information, even though I'm on the corner giving it to them. I'm in their house giving it to them. Had I demand them come to our office and have them waiting out there in the in the out there for 40 minutes with 8 other people, then they will respect my time, my energy, and stuff like that way better. But since I'm there, really, at the beck and call, they tend to, trample over it a lot. I've noticed that with certain, patients of the past. It used to bother me when I first begun. I've been like, what in the world? You know, I'm right here. I'm coming to their house, and they telling me to hold on while they go do something.
Kind of cut it
You know
inside.
what I mean?
And
So,
that's like we witnessed that firsthand. We witnessed when you walked in to the hospital room. It was kind of like, oh, you're just a friend coming to visit. You're just coming to check
hmm
on your friend. But it was not until you started asking certain questions. Mind you, we had talked to the doctors and the nurses about you.
hmm
We had told them about what what you're capable of, what you do, how you talk, you handle things, and all of that. But when you came in, it was kind of like, yeah, okay, right. But there was one time that we definitely saw a difference, and you weren't there at that time. But when
Mhm.
um, the staff doctor, whatever they call the one that is was over whatever is going on, like it's kind of like a primary care, but whatever they call them in hospitals.
Mhm.
When he looked at the letter that you left behind for him, and he really looked at it, it was like all of a sudden the light came on, and it's like, okay, this is not somebody that I can just take lightly.
Right.
And his whole demeanor as far as the conversation that he was having about what you had suggested for his care, for Imar's care, was in a completely different light, you know.
Mhm.
And that's one of those things that we have to take into consideration is people in certain instances will avoid you because they have a preconceived notion about you based on stereotypes.
Yeah,
You know, they have gotten so far. I'm sorry, babe. They've gotten so far away from, as we were talking about earlier, from making house calls and the importance of house calls, and doctors really meeting patients where they are instead of meeting them in the uncomfortable area that the doctor is familiar with.
Mhm.
They have forgotten all about that, and so they don't value people who do that.
exactly. And in fact, I'll be honest with you, even though after he read that, and I told you this too, doctor, he was so moved by it, but yet at the same time still felt somewhat superior over you. He said he thought it was cute.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
But yet, every time we brought up that we're doing this and this because of our doctor, Frazier, her holistic doctor, they had to at least respect you from the standpoint that we as a patient were ultimately the ones that said the say so of who we were accepting as our help and who we really did not think so. So they were forced to have to deal with that situation whether they like it or not.
yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And I want to go back real quick to something that Empress stated a few minutes ago when she was saying that people avoid sometimes because they don't see that there is a consequence. And for that, there's another side of that. I think sometimes people will avoid because they have such an amount of respect for the person that they don't want to hurt their feelings.
Is that what you do to me?
I do. I do that quite often. And I know I'm doing that. And I will hedge and hem and haw, as they used to say, and try to skirt around things because I'm afraid that what I'm going to say is going to hurt your feelings.
I
But
have
that's not helping things either.
I can speak on that. I've been that person too. In a previous relationship, it got to a point um where constantly having to prune or bring up something that needed to be pruned in that particular relationship, um the conversation would always end up really really aggressive, to a point where instead of me lashing back out, I had to retreat on several occasions. So then it would get to a point where now we're not talking about anything. There's a situation, there's a problem. We can't talk about it because now I'm concerned about how to say what needs to be said without it turning into a aggressive dialect. And to avoid that, I just kind of avoided the problems, which led to resentment. It led to distrust. I didn't feel emotionally comfortable or represented by my significant other, and I'm sure he didn't feel the same. Because we stopped talking about things. We just kind of just when there was an issue, we just kind of didn't talk about it, or I would let him vent about it as much as he could, and then I just wouldn't say anything. So I can completely agree with that side of avoidance.
Sharon,
Yes.
do you feel that your avoidance in our relationship is similar to what she says is happening?
Sometimes yes, and it's because of how I feel about several things. Like one is
Let's hold that for a
okay.
minute because it's our commercial
No,
time.
it's not. It's time to take a break.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's called Take a
We're
Break.
just gonna take a
So
break.
we're going to hold that in suspension and see if the reasons why you
Yeah.
avoid is similar to hers
Uh-huh.
or could be altogether something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to go to commercial. We will be right back. Oh, excuse me.
Nope. We're gonna take a break,
It's
and
been a
we'll be
while.
right back.
It's been a while.
That's okay.
Oh, I mean, my friend, your Savannah homeboy, Clarence Thomas, made sure that I don't go to prison.
So Julius is in there talking to Trump. Oh, I'm telling.
Okay.
Yes. I love that commercial. The Wow commercial. We had so much fun when we were doing those Wow events, and we're going to do some more. And we're going to be working with Empress in order to get some more of them done, and coming to a special place near you sometime soon. But we gotta get Imar back on his feet. Dr. Frazier is going to help with that. And so as soon as we get him back on his feet, we're going to really start hitting the ground running. Well, we're going to hit the ground walking. How about that? Not running. So,
Exactly. Tell us some places where they can see us too, by the way.
yes. And you can, in addition to catching us here, you can also hear us on WRUU on Saturday mornings from 9 to 10. That's 105.9 five. What is it? 10
7.5.
107.5. I always get those numbers turned around. 107.5 WRUU. And you can find us on taking on email is ttjt at takingthejourney-together.com. Facebook is facebook.com ttj together. Instagram is taking the J together. And we are back slowly, but we are back. It's been
Yeah.
a whole month since we've done that.
Yeah, we had
Done
to
this.
stop putting stuff in our Facebook group.
Yes.
All those who wonder what happened to us, now you know.
Yeah.
So let's get to what we left off, where she was mentioning sometimes someone might make you feel intimidated or make you feel uncomfortable when it comes to you wanting to respond.
Hmm.
And therefore, in turn, you decide to avoid instead because you don't want to hurt their feelings.
Yes.
And I was asking something about intern. Is that something that you feel happens, has happened in our relationship
Hmm.
before? And
Yes.
give some insight on
Yes. And it does because I'm one of those people that I don't like hurting people's feelings. And so and when it's somebody that I'm really close to and I really care about and I really love, it's really hard for me to give hard and fast truths that I haven't wordsmithed, I guess you could say.
it. Okay.
And
Now remember when you're talking, even though I'm not feeling that well, I'm the one that usually is the actual observer
mhm.
of
And
the
you
responses
and
of
not
how you either avoid, because you do that a lot,
I guess.
and knowing the reasons behind it.
Yeah.
So besides
And
being honest, as you should be open, but you also need to understand you need to be transparent
mhm.
in that matter too.
Yeah. And
Can
as
y'all see my picture?
no.
I don't know what's going on with it, but I am here, and because I've been putting my finger up, I said you must be can't see me.
No,
I was acting like I was in church.
doctor, if you want to just log out and just log back in, you'll probably be able to come back out.
That's what I just did a few minutes ago. When I came back in, that's when I've been having problems since I did that. I'll log back out and log back in
Yeah,
real quick.
because your camera is not seeing you.
Yeah.
All right.
Remember when we did have this discussion, which is why we went to avoidance. Remember you talked about that from the past, that your conversations that you've had with people, you would think that maybe that they were more intelligent and had more to say. So you in turn decided many times,
To just be a listener.
well,
Yeah.
not just be a listener, but to avoid to be in the conversation
Hmm.
because you figured you did not have the same kind of knowledge or the
Yes.
same kind of, of level of conversation. And in turn, they basically
Hmm.
would intimidate you in turn because of that. You felt uncomfortable to say anything because it wasn't so much you were hurt their feelings. You
Well, and
figured it was going
sometimes
to
it was not.
it was going to
Yes.
insult their intelligence and make you feel less than.
Hmm.
Because in this case, it had a lot to do with insecurities and
Yes.
low self-esteem.
Definitely. Definitely.
But I
You know,
think I think she's
that's a good.
I think she's addressing more of a situation where she's actually intellectually connected
No,
with.
no, no,
Sister, let her
no,
speak for herself. She's a
no,
grown woman.
no. What I'm addressing,
Mhm.
it's not so much the the intellectual part. Yes, that is one of those things that, because if people are talking about something that I am not um versed in, I will gladly sit back and just listen and not offer an opinion. But it's when I have an opinion, but it's not necessarily the popular opinion or the opinion that is going to um, make things go smoothly. When I'm going, I guess you could say, off the rails with my opinion, and I sometimes often go off the rails with my
Yes,
opinion.
you do. I know she looks like she's quiet. I know she looks like many times she gets perception that she's innocent. And many times since I met her, she gives the perception to people that she needs to be taken care
Yeah,
and
but I,
saved. And
and I'm
some men,
and it's offensive to me.
some men even give that perception and feeling that
Yes.
they have to save her. And some women feel the same way too. I guarantee
Yeah.
you, being with a woman.
I'm actually different than what how Sharon is. I
Mhm.
tend to want to confront people and cause a confrontation. If I know something
You
about
do?
a situation, I'm going to be the opposite of that and
Wow.
actually put it out because I want to challenge them on it. So I'm
Yeah.
actually the different. But I put that towards. I know I'm hearing a lot about we're not looking at the actual brain and why is this happening. And I don't know if you remember me talking about a Dr. Amen from the Amen Clinic, but
Yes.
well, he studied brain activity and
Spooky. One
different.
of his books.
Hmm.
Yeah, change your life, change your brain, change your life. That's one of his
Hmm.
books that will actually support what I'm about to tell you right now. Now, in there, he talk about we have different brain areas, like regions of the brain. Like you got the prefrontal cortex, the temporal lobe, deep limbic system. You have the anterior cingulate gyrus. You have the cerebrum. So you have these different areas, the parietal lobe. You have all these different regions, and each one of them handle different things in the body, even in our activity and how we act and talk, judge situations, if we feel secure in anything. But when those areas have been damaged or there's not enough blood flowing there, then you're going to function less, whatever that area does. Let's say, for example, um, avoiding confrontation is one of the things. And matter of fact, when I have certain people come in who I'm counseling, and one on my worksheet, it up there asks you, do you avoid confrontation? You know, so there's something for me to help you if you are a person who's always avoiding confrontations because it's actually an area in your brain. Now that's one. Now here we go to Dr. Hawkins. Dr. Hawkins also have it as well. If you're avoiding confrontations, then it's possibly that you've experienced that in your life. You maybe been around a father who, you know, didn't confront people like how you thought. Now, if you over confrontation, you may be looking at that same father, but you're perceiving, well, I'm not going to be like him, and now you over confront people, like in my case or something like that.
Wow.
So it's different variables that can bring about why we're acting the way that we're acting when we're acting. In other words.
And see, Doctor, I'm glad that you're here because you want to always take us, as it should be, to the roots. Avoidance, as the lady brought up very strongly, goes to the roots and the foundations of relationships, which is why trust and abandonment is brought up as being one of the foundations that can be broken easily in a relationship when you do avoidance, because it's directly connected to the roots of the matter. Many times it's not necessarily due that it's your mate that is causing that particular problem where you feel that you're avoiding it. Many times it's a past connection that has to do with your relationship with your parents and why you in turn do things to avoid in your relationships. And I think that's important for us to understand when we get to the roots of the matter. And I'm glad you said that. And I know Sherry doesn't mind us bringing it up because we're trying to be transparent to help out everybody. But Sharon has had, as we talked about in the past, a problem with avoiding issues and conflicts
Hmm.
because of her past in her relationships,
Yeah.
her relationship between her mom and her dad, without going into detail. And so, with that kind of problem that you have in the past in your relationship, and maybe your father was always very strong willed, very argumentative, and you try to bring something up, and maybe he had a chauvinistic kind of mindset and never wanted to hear what you say because you was a girl.
Hmm.
And I remember you told me in your other relationship, without talking about it, how the husband always felt like the son wasn't good as the daughter.
Yeah.
And so that made him feel inconfident because
Hmm.
somehow he
Yeah.
wasn't acting more male like his sister was being more like a tomboy. So it affected him. It affects him now, come to
Hmm.
think about it.
Yeah, it does.
So that very affecting, using that as an example, means we carry sometimes with us that avoidance because it first started from our parental guides
Hmm.
in our life
Yes.
and how they acted towards us when we were in the burgeoning part of our life,
Hmm.
trying to express ourselves and
Yeah.
how we feel as we came to more of a consciousness of who we are and who we can be to create. And it was squashed or put down or made us feel
Hmm.
bad. And I'm gonna stop it because I'm not to
Yeah.
talk too much, but I've been dating some women sometimes that I've seen them actually call their kids devils.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I've seen a sister come out and tell a little guy who feels different, our daughter felt devil, shut up, you devil. What are you doing talking this way? And I'm like, wow,
Yeah. That's
I can't even
harsh.
believe that.
That's real harsh.
And it's no wonder why that young person, when I try to talk to them on the side and say their mom don't mean it or the dad don't mean it, they stutter, they stumble, and they basically in turn kind of get the perception, well, I've got nothing to say whatsoever, and therefore there's nothing I need to say to you, let alone listen to you.
Yeah. When you take into consideration what Dr. Frazier was saying, um, when I was growing up, I was encouraged to be more outgoing. I was encouraged to speak up more. That was my mother's thing because I was very shy and introverted. But my father was also shy and introverted and did not like a lot of people around him. And I embraced that because I could understand it and I could speak to that. And we just had lots of quiet time that was meaningful time as far as I was concerned. And so on the one hand, I had this real nice, quiet, peaceful experience with my father, and on the other hand, I had my mother saying, "Oh yeah, she'll speak in that. She'll have a speaking part there. Oh yeah, she'll be out front." She didn't necessarily want me to be out front. She just wanted me to be comfortable in front of people, and that was her way of encouraging that. So I had that going this way, but not to disappoint my mother. She volunteered me to speak at something. I'm going to speak. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to cry afterwards because I'm so afraid and uncomfortable. I'm definitely going to cry afterwards. But at the same time, I'm going to I'm going to do it, which I thank her for that now because if she hadn't insisted that I do that, I would not be able to do a lot of the things that I do now. And so that is that important piece. But some of the things that I didn't overcome was knowing how to deal in conflict that is not really conflict, but conflict that is more discussion because of the feeling of I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings, because of the feelings of they're not going to understand what I'm trying to say, things of that sort. And I recognize also that what that is are parasites, the parasitic voices that are saying, you know, that are coming from my lack of self esteem. That's also something that I have avoided dealing with.
And it goes back around to look at the question that I asked you the first time that is different from what Empress has experienced because both of you two have different stories, came from different places, and are dealing in relationships differently. Where you just spoke of how your male first figures, because that's our first examples of how we, deal with one another through our parental guides, that your most males being a father in this life, but you come from a blended family, especially down south, where males are to be seen but not so much heard.
Hmm.
And so, therefore, you never had much of vocal conversations with males. And therefore, you were not used to maybe up north when males are a lot more aggressive,
Well,
a
my
lot more
uncles were,
assertive.
but my father was not.
Exactly. But that's what we're referring
Yeah.
to. That was your first
Hmm.
example,
Yeah.
was those males. So when you came in connection to males like that, your first husband wasn't like that. He was very quiet. He wasn't all that open. And
Hmm.
then when you came into males like that, like me,
That's like a culture shock. It's like, whoa.
exactly. Then therefore that's when that lack of intimidation or the intimidation, self-esteem in the past where I'm not used to a male being this way, talking this way, had you do that. I am very happy that you thought and felt that you weren't going to hurt my feelings. I'll be honest with you. You never would have been able to hurt my feelings. Not if you knew my mom, who was a very outgoing, strong-willed
Yeah,
woman.
she
It
was
wasn't
also
afraid.
whoa. It was
It
a
wasn't
lot. She
afraid
was
to
a
say
lot to deal with.
anybody. If anybody hurt my feelings, it would have been my mom. It certainly would never been you.
But the thing of it is, we also have to embrace those those people that we go into relationships that are different from the relationships we've had in the past, because we
Hmm.
can get very comfortable in one relationship and avoid other types of relationships, other types of interactions, and things of that sort. Um, so,
Can I
so that
share something with you
yes,
while you're talking about this? We also have to look at this one thing as well that I usually share with some of my clients when we're counseling. I definitely get them to look at the physical side of it. Hey, you're dealing with brains. It's one brain relating with another brain. And if those brains are not healthy, then there can be no healthy relationship. But even if those brains are healthy and problems still exist, we might have to look at the individual who's creating the negativity in that relationship. Like, for example, like you said, you may have been a certain way when you were younger, and then when you get older, you're manifesting that way you can fulfill your own desires in your heart and in your mind and stuff. Like you're creating a situation where you got somebody who's going to always make you, you know, feel like your daddy. If your daddy wasn't a boisterous person, wouldn't confront people, you want to live the martyr. So you create people into your world so you can, you know, feel the love for your father and create yourself as a martyr. I hope I'm saying this in a way where you can understand it here, but
mhm,
I've had this happen a lot of times. You know, they watch their daddy go through this, or they watch their mama go through this, and so they'll create the same situations in their relationships where that they can feel and sympathize as their mother did as well. If that makes sense.
yeah, it does. It does. What do you all think about
It
that,
did, Mom.
um, Empress? And one of these days, I'm going to remember your name. I'm so sorry,
Are you fine? It's welding.
Right.
Weldon. I thought that's what it was, but
I,
I didn't want to say it.
I saw him.
Um,
I saw him easily creep to the mic, and I was so glad to see him easily creep to the mic. That meant there's something that we said that's resonating with him, and he wanted to hear more about it. And that's always good when it comes to
yes,
relationships. We
I'm
both are important and valuable in our
exactly, and
relationships.
I'm going to remember your name now because of James Weldon Johnson.
What's
Yeah,
that?
Mm.
writer,
Oh wow!
So
poet, a poet. Yes. So so
I
what
can
do you all think?
I can relate to what Dr. Ferrante was saying about the when he was referring to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm understanding is that when we create being the martyr, like looking for your father and someone, or looking for your mother and someone, or just creating a situation where um, you end up doing the same thing as. Can y'all hear me still?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it just went out on my side.
Okay.
So um, I think I do my best to be the opposite of what I grew up around, because just like you guys were saying earlier, part of I guess you would say childhood traumas. My mother never let me speak on anything that I wanted to be vocal about. So by nature, I'm vocal, but growing up, I was shut up, sit down. I don't give a damn. Duh, I'm the mama. Like I can't say nothing about nothing, so I couldn't speak. So instead of shutting people up, for the most part, I believe that I tried to open up a transparent room for conversation. Um, in doing that, when it comes to communicating, I try my best.
Yes. That makes you a person who has a spirit of what we call peace.
Right. It can be confrontational though too when you're trying to create that space with someone who has a different or similar trauma, when they don't understand, or maybe I wouldn't say understand because I don't want to take anything from anyone, but when it seems as if they're used to a space of conflict. So then
Mhm.
when you do bring something up, there's an automatic defense mechanism instead of realizing that this is a conversation, not a argument. I'm not trying to bash you. I'm just bringing something up so that we can have a transparent conversation and gather understanding for both parties.
Yes. And speaking of transparent conversations,
So good.
we have had a very transparent
What's
conversation,
feedback?
and we need to continue this transparent conversation next week. I want tell us where we can find you.
You can find me at IC Port Savannah on all platforms. ICPORT Savannah on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Okay. And Dr. Frazier, how can people contact you for your help?
They can call me at 912-272-8381 or 912-227-9335. Contact me at savannahnaturalhealth@gmail.com. Definitely get me there.
I want to say too, if you in turn want to experience a doctor who's down home, but at the same time a brother who will speak to where you're at and be able to answer your questions, I want you to give him a call. And I'm saying to you, if you have any pushbacks, I'll let you know right now with love, he don't mind pushing back at you, but he's got the receipts and he's got the facts.
Yeah, he's,
Thank
you
you.
know, walking. I believe that you came into our space some months ago because of what was going to happen now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
destined. I seek anything wrong, and I
And to say I went through the same thing, I'm telling you. It just amazed me when I saw the correlation there. I was like, wow, he's going through the same stuff as I had. Yeah.
well, we're gonna ask the in person
Empress and Emperor
to stay
to stay
on
on.
after this. We thank you, everybody. I'm glad to be back. It will take a little while. I probably talked a little too much now,
You
but
did. I'm going to put
I,
him. I'm going to take him back to bed. And
Yeah, put
just
him back to bed when you leave.
oh, definitely. Yeah.
I can't help it. It's in me from that end.
He got his son this morning. He did this. We're done for the day.
Excellent. Excellent.
All right,
All
everybody,
right.
God bless Ashe. And be very loving in your family. Remember, value each other the best that you can because you never know when it could be the last day on this plane, on this earth.
Yes.
Amen and
Yes.
Ashe.
I say. And I realize that there's several
Oops.
reasons.
Are they here? Oh, yeah, we're here. Okay.
So how was before we get into it, how's the truck driving experience?
Well, actually, I had to get a little experience under my belt first before I can actually get in the truck. So right now, I'm continuing doing yard jockeys for a company, Home Depot. Actually, I should be starting next week.
All right.
Good.
All right. I'm glad to hear that. Man.
What I'm glad to hear is, uh, unlike so many young people today, young men especially, um, they don't want to crawl before they walk. They want everything like right now, and you're like, well, I got to do this in order to get where I want. So I will bite the bullet. I will suck it up. I will do what I don't want to do, but it's a means to an end. And you get so many of them are just like, no. If I can't do that, then I'm not going to do anything. Well, that's stupid, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's where the mindset is.
Well, usually what happens when it's that way is you are gaining a shallow, superficial experience,
Yeah.
and you end up really having no substance. All of the experience a lot of truckers have, many of they got that on the job on the road.
Hmm.
And that's the times that they could tell you the secret things that you would know nothing about through training unless you get it on the
Yeah.
job on the road. And so they have that substance behind them.
And those large trucks are no joke. Just because my brother-in-law used to drive a truck, and he got his start driving smaller trucks for a sausage company called Rudy's Farm.
Mm,
So I hear what you're saying.
exactly.
Do
And
y'all remember? I drove
Mhm.
I drove 18 wheelers for 8 years.
All right.
So I've been trying to put them up on a little bit of something, something.
Sister, I can only applaud you for that, because
she's a pioneer. Though
yes,
I have seen on the internet many sisters who not only driving, but they have their own truck fleet,
yeah,
their own truck fleet, and you can't even use that, judging by the book, that they look like men and talk like men. No, I've seen some sisters like nothing gets you, my baby, but they some fine looking sisters, and they driving that truck like I don't know
yeah.
what.
And when we're on the road, because we're missing the road now,
Mhm.
but when we're on the road, we're seeing more and more females that are driving. And the scary thing to me is a lot of them are by themselves.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That is very true. We thought about one time in life. We still could be. We thought about one time in life when it was a couple of years ago. Companies start seeing that when a couple drives on the road, took them long enough. When a couple drives on the road as a married couple trucking, the business of trucking does much better. They drive further because they can share. They have less conflict when it comes to the relationships, plus the dealing with the stops and all that good stuff. And last but not least, they're able to get their products delivered correctly. So they started to push and actually
Hmm.
recruit for couples on the road.
Yeah,
Remember that, about
yeah.
almost 10 years, something like that.
I do
And
remember
we
that.
were thinking about trying to do that for ourselves because my dad drove trucks. That's what he did when he got out of the army, from what I heard. And so driving is just kind of like in my blood, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. So
How you guys been doing, first of all, since we haven't heard from you guys for a while?
Well, besides me trying to find a job, which I just found it, which is
Yeah.
short, everything been going pretty good. We've been having some disagreements, um, but like y'all said in the show, it could have been coming from my past. I was feeling a little lonely at one point because of her IC Port Savannah program, what she got going on. But more y'all talked about it, more I had to think about it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just dealing with it. And we probably have a deep conversation afterwards about it. But I was really tuned in.
Well, I would hope that once I get back on with a little bit of vitality, Cheryl and I are going to have a chance to meet with you guys personally, and we'll have these kind of talks to kind of help you two out. Excuse the moment right now, but as Dr. Frazier has said to me, those other things can wait.
yeah,
You're more important,
yeah,
and you need to get well.
yeah,
And if you get well, then you can help others.
yes,
If you get and stay sick, you can't really be helped anybody
exactly.
else.
Because the day he got sick was the day we were supposed to meet for dinner and get to really talking to one another. And that was on a Wednesday. And the next day was the first day of school for me. And he was talking about, well, I'll go to the doctor Friday after you get off from work. And he would not have been here if we had waited until Friday. And that's one of those things that I was going to talk about today as far as avoidance is concerned. Even though I do avoid some things, when he sent me a text about how he was feeling and everything. When I read that text, I was like, be dressed and ready to go to the doctor, to urgent care when I come home.
Right.
And he was in such a state that he couldn't even walk to the car when I got home.
Mm.
And he was going to wait until Friday. I'm like, no, we're done. We're getting an ambulance and we're going. And that's exactly what we did because that was one of those times I was ready for the argument because he couldn't stand up anyway. But anyway, I was ready for the argument because it meant that that was one that he didn't want to lose either. And if I lost that argument, he was going to lose his life. So, I had to put my foot down on that one. It was like, nope, we're not waiting. So some things you just cannot afford to avoid. You just have to come right out with it.
Yeah.
And
And my avoidance wasn't because um, I was afraid to hurt her feelings.
I don't think you knew how sick you were.
No,
I
that was
think
number
we're still alive.
one. Yeah, huh?
What's that?
I said
What
I think we're still alive.
did you end? Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, we still